to get back to Tontaig purely on the kindness of strangers. She didn't spend a single penny. Spoiler alert, she made the 6,000 miles and she's here in the studio with me now. Good morning, Rinal.
Good morning.
And welcome home.
Thank you.
So why were you in Hong Kong in the first place?
It just ended up being one of my last stopping points before travelling back, more cheap flight routes going through Hong Kong.
Right, so you didn't go to Hong Kong for any specific reason?
No, I mean, I was interested to learn a bit about Chinese culture without actually going to mainland China, and I think you can get a feel for that from Hong Kong and Macau. But yeah, nothing more than that really.
Okay. So while you were in Hong Kong, you had this epiphany, did you? You thought, I know what I'll do to get... I tried the cheap flight route thing, but I want to go back even cheaper.
I actually came up with this idea when I was in Taiwan. My next stop after Taiwan was the Philippines, and we planned to stay with an indigenous tribe there. It's one of the last hunter-gatherer tribes in Asia, and they exist in a community where money doesn't really exist. And I was really interested in this idea because it's so alien to the modern everyday world that I wanted to see what their life was like and then adopt some of their techniques in my journey back from Hong Kong to the UK using no money. And I learned a lot of things on my travels quite unexpectedly. When I was in India, I went to hear the Dalai Lama, but what really surprised me was the influence of modern day India, which was about making money rather than its spiritual roots. And then when I was in Taiwan, I met a girl who was really sad because she found out she'd been adopted. And she had all this sadness inside her, but she didn't have the courage to leave her life. And I suggested to her to go and travel just to get a little bit of perspective and then come back and make some better decisions. But she said that she couldn't because she didn't have enough money. And I was travelling at that time on $50 to $100 a month. And so I wanted to show in an extreme way that your mental health is more important. When you need to take a break from life, then you just need to go and do it and not worry so much about, money, I guess.
Mm. So you went from, I mean, that's not even a lot, is it? What did you say, 60 to 100?
$50 to $100 a month, yeah.
A month?
Yeah.
And then you thought, you know what, I'm going to go back to Tontaig. I'm in Hong Kong. I'm going to go back to Tontaig with no money at all.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so what did you do? I mean, this is just absolutely fascinating. You have no money. You're in Hong Kong, and you get your compass out and you point it towards Tontaig, and off you go.
Well, when I was on the flight arriving into Hong Kong, I was actually having second thoughts, and I was like, what am I doing? So I woken up that day in the Philippines, and I had a really bad stomach. Me and my friend, we'd ended up getting food poisoning when we were in the tribe, which I was still suffering from. So I was in the worst state to beginning this quite extreme adventure. I had no energy, I had a really bad stomach. I was really tired. I didn't have a place to stay in Hong Kong. I hadn't confirmed a host. So I was thinking, okay, I'm going to have to sleep at the airport, and everything was basically against me. But I don't know, sometimes another thing that I learned is if you don't worry about things so much and just let destiny take its course, sometimes things just end up working out in the end.
So you're feeling terrible.
Yeah.
So you had a really bad stomach, yeah?
Yes.
And all that goes with that.
Yeah.
And then you decided, do you know what? Destiny is going to fix my stomach now.
Well, I'm quite a determined person, and throughout my travels, I've been writing a blog, and I'd already written on my blog that I was going to do this. So I was like, well, I'm not going to back up now just because I'm not feeling that good. I'm gonna finish this, and I really, really did have the belief that we lived in a beautiful world full of beautiful people. And
yeah, but also in a world that needs accommodation, food, water, ways to travel. Let's talk about the practicalities for a minute.
But that was the challenge.
Right. Okay. So what did you do then? Were you asking people for shelter for the night? Were you well, not begging for food, but were you asking for food?
Well, for accommodation throughout my trip, I'd use Couchsurfing, which is a travel community where local people can invite you to stay. So that was my principal use of accommodation. I also had a tent for emergency situations. Thankfully, I didn't have to use that because it was quite cold in Europe. For food, yeah, I went to restaurants and I asked for leftovers. But the other reason that I wanted to do that was to show how waste for one person can be resource for another person. You know,
and how accommodating were they, Lynelle, the restaurants?
in Hong Kong, they were really nice.
Yeah. But as you travelled, which countries did you travel through?
Hong Kong, Macau, Thailand, and then into Europe. So Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Germany, and then finally Poland.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you find a difference between the different continents?
Yeah.
And their attitudes?
Yeah, it was surprising actually. I expected it to be really easy as soon as I got to Europe, but it was actually the opposite.
Good.
Yeah, because in Europe, you have a lot of rules, so restaurants can't officially give you leftover food because of health and safety. So you have to adapt to each country. So in Europe, I did more dumpster diving, which is basically going into dumpsters and getting leftover food or thrown out food that the supermarkets have gotten rid of.
So are they still in wrapping?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite common in Europe. One of the hosts that I stayed with, she came to get me on her bike and she had loads of food on the back of her bike. And she's like, oh, have you eaten? And I was like, oh, I've got some bread. And she's like, basically, eat anything you want in my house because we never buy food. It's all from the supermarket dumpster.
No way.
Yeah, and everything was in its wrapper and it's all before the sell-by date. But obviously supermarkets have to be really cautious. So I think people have a bit of a misinterpretation about dumpster diving. It's not like the food is open and all really dirty. If you collect it as soon as it's put in the bin, it's as good as if you got it from the supermarket.
Where did you have the least response to your demands? If I can put it
The
like
most difficult places was Norway, Sweden, and Germany.
Really?
Yeah, I think because of the growing prejudice that's developed as a result of them taking a really high intake of refugees and a small number of incidents, bad incidents that have happened. I think anybody with a dark skin has sadly been tarred with the same brush. So sometimes it would be as bad as I would just be asking for directions in the centre and people be like, no. And I'm like, hang on a minute, let me finish what I'm saying. Like, I just want to know where something is. And it was really frustrating because...
So how do you explain then? So they were, as soon as you would ask for anything, the barriers were up, were they?
It would be, I mean, that's a generalisation,
Yeah.
but it would be 50-50. In Norway, in Sweden, it was probably more 30-70. And then Germany, again, probably 20-30-70.
So did anybody listen to you then? Because
Yeah, they were. I mean, this was the beautiful thing about my experience, is that I realised that in today's world, humanity and spirituality is harder to find than I think it used to be because of trust. People don't trust as easily. But when you find it, you really do find it in the most beautiful ways. And some people really did, like, you know, open their arms and their heart to me in a way that most people in today's world can't even imagine. Like, one guy just left me his key while he was away working. I never met him, and he just left me his key and let me use his apartment. You know, that level of trust is just, for me, amazing that it still exists in this world. Another guy in Hong Kong, a lot of people started to organically find my blog online. And they would just message me and say, you know, I've read your story, I think it's amazing, like, how can I help you? So this other guy in Hong Kong contacted me and was like, come and stay with me. And it was trust on both sides because...
Well, exactly, that's the other thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? One thing is you asking them for help, but then it's you having to vet who's safe to stay with.
Yeah, but I think you can tell a lot from a person's face, their eyes, their tone of voice. And this is the first time that I'd stayed with somebody, because he wasn't from Couchsurfing. He was literally somebody who just messaged me from my blog. I met him, but as soon as I saw his face, I trusted him and I went to his place. And then I said to him, so why did you invite me to stay? Like, you don't know me or anything. He was actually from the UK. And he was like, I read your story and all I could think to myself was, if you were my daughter, I would want to know that there was somebody out there looking after you. And I actually learned after that he'd lost his dad when he was younger. And it just made him happy to feel like he was doing something for somebody else. And again, just that wholesome, you know, giving was what I was looking for, I guess, in my quest to travel with no money. So I did have some really beautiful experiences. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that it was perfect. I did also have experiences where people's eyes would literally light up when I would say I was traveling with no money, and they'd be like, oh, okay, so, you know, maybe you'd like to spend some time with me. But I would just, as soon as I got a hint of that, I would just be like, no, I'm not obligated, you know. I don't have any money, but I'd rather sleep on the streets, to be honest. Yeah, it's about being assertive as well and showing.
And very brave. I mean, how many people would do that?
Yeah.
And honestly, you know, it would have taken a lot of courage and determination. But I suppose it's all to do with your attitude.
Yes. Yeah, it's really important to keep a positive attitude. You know, when you're hitchhiking, if you stand there looking grumpy because you haven't eaten, it's raining and you're tired and nobody's like stopping for you, then you're on a downward path. But if you keep your positivity, smile at people, you know, I don't know, I think smiling can be contagious. Sometimes they want to pass you and then they're like, oh, no, I don't think I can. I've got to at least go and talk to her, ask her what is she doing? Well,
Rinal, keep smiling because it obviously works. And thank you so much for coming in to tell us this amazing story.
No problem.
And have a lovely Christmas.
Thank you.
That's Rinal Patel, all the way from Hong Kong to Tom Teg with not a penny in her pocket, just a lovely glowing heart from the kindness of others. Thank you. Diolch yn fawr for coming in. Amazing! Absolutely amazing! Fantastic. Thank you so much.
No problem.
That was
Thank you.
just a great story. Yeah. Amazing.
A nice positive story for Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah.